Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining our first Tips and Tricks webinar of 2024. Hope everybody had a good holiday season and new year. Um, we're going to keep the same schedule, just a little housekeeping here. Keep the same schedule, Thursdays, 11 o'clock through the year. Still being recorded, put up on the YouTube channel. So no real changes there, but always looking for suggestions if anybody wants to send us a topic or anything you think would be more impactful here. Please just shoot me a note, let me know. Happy to consider any suggestions. But with that, we'll get started here. Today's topic, as you can see, is how to block the Tor browser using Checkpoint Harmony Endpoint. Please use the Q&A chat if you have any questions during the webinar. We'll make sure we answer those. Our presenter today is an SC from New York City, Joe Ruppel, sorry, Joe. Joe, what do you have for us today?
Hey, good morning, guys. Hope everybody's having a good morning so far. As stated, my name is Joe Ruppel. I'm a security engineer with Checkpoint, actually in New Jersey, not New York. And what I
Sorry
want to
about
show
that.
everybody today, what I want to show everybody today is a very quick presentation, literally 3 slides, uh, about what is the Tor browser, and then go into a demo on how we can use Harmony Endpoint to control usage of the Tor browser. And so with that, we'll kick right off. So what is Tor? Tor stands for the onion router. And what does that mean? The onion router is a system of networking that uses encrypted connections on a broadly spread out network of nodes that it connects to. It does this to create layers of encryption, right? Layers like an onion and an ogre have layers. So too does the Tor network. It creates layers of encryption where each node only knows the previous and next hop. So what is all that used for, right? This creates a highly anonymous connection because each node, again, only knows the previous and next hop, and it becomes very difficult to trace back, right? It is used by users to make it difficult for corporations, governments, law enforcement, et cetera, to trace backwards to them, right? And that can manifest in many different ways, right? It doesn't have to be illegal activity, right? It could be anonymous publishing, right? Someone got some sort of story that they're going to publish to New York Times, right? And they're going to do it anonymously because they don't want it traced back to them, or some kind of whistleblower that's observed some kind of unfair thing going on, or perhaps it's some kind of activist. Perhaps it's someone who is stuck behind a national firewall where they control the usage of the internet and don't let you get to certain sites, perhaps like social media, for example. Users will use onion routing to get past that and use social media or whatever other website it is that their government blocks. And of course, as many of us probably know or assume when we hear Tor, illegal activities, which can include hacking, and that's kind of our primary domain here at Checkpoint. But it also could be a lot of other illegal and terrible things, and then I won't go into those, but you could, pretty much anything you could imagine, right? Um, this is the primary method of access to the dark web, right? Is Tor routing. The dark web being websites that are not listed, but also used for uh, usually illegal or somewhat questionable purposes, right? It's also the primary access to the deep web, which are websites which are not listed or indexed in your usual search engines like Google, right? You can always identify a dark web or deep web address because it ends in .onion instead of .com or .org, etc. And I have an illustration here, right? So here we have on the top left our Tor client. Someone's using the Tor client. They access the Tor network, which brings them to the entry node, and all these green arrows are encrypted connections. An encrypted connection to the entry node, to the first relay node, to the second relay node, could be to a dozen more relay nodes. Eventually, it exits out to whatever the destination is. And so you can see through this, layers of proxying it gets very difficult to track who is the initial user. So that's all my slides. That's all I have for slides. Let me go ahead and get out of PowerPoint. So now I want to move over to a demo. Here I have a Windows machine. It is running Harmony Endpoint, has a variety of blades, but not all the blades turned on. And two things I want to show you that it can do right off the bat. So first, it can visit the website torproject.org, which is the home of the Onion router and the Tor browser. And we can easily download the Tor browser right from the link here, right, for our various platforms. I did go ahead and download it previously. We're not going to do it right now. The other thing I'll show you is that once installed, the Tor browser can run. Here it comes. And it connects to the Tor network. Takes it a second sometimes. There she goes. I am now connected to this Onion router network that we looked at before, right? And when I go to any sort of website, I can actually be obfuscated like that. And that includes .onion websites. So the Hidden Wiki is a, much like Wikipedia, the Hidden Wiki is a website on the deep net that has a .onion. You see this wild URL. This is very typical of a deep net website, since you can't remember it. It doesn't say bankofamerica.com, right? It's something that you can't really remember, and it changes from time to time, and it ends in this .onion, right? And so here it is. So that's an example of using the Tor browser, right? So now what I want to show you is how we can do some things to control that. Let's move this over to the correct screen, please. Okay. So this is Harmony Endpoint. I'm sure many of us are familiar with managing Harmony Endpoint. Um, the first step that we should take, right, to block usage of the Tor browser is to block anonymizers as a web category, right? That will prevent us from going to that torproject.org. So make sure our URL filtering mode is in prevent. Go to advanced settings, and anonymizers is under service. We click that. We could click more of these. In fact, we usually recommend to click all of these, but for now, we'll click anonymizer. We will click OK. We will save and install. Install that policy. Okay, and the policy is installed. And just for our own purposes, the version is version 11. So when we go back to our endpoint, let's update it. Probably have to click this a couple times. It takes a moment for the updated policy to come through. See, still version 10, so another update.
While you're waiting there, Joe, I do have a question came in.
Mm-hmm.
Is the anonymizer category only for Tor browsing, or does it include other services?
Excellent question. So it includes a variety of other services, many of which you're familiar with, and some you're not. But it will block any sort of anonymizing. A lot of VPN technologies, for example. Um, that's a great question, but it will block a lot of different ones. It's also available on our firewalls, the anonymizer category. So this part you could also achieve with our firewalls. Great question.
Yep.
Okay, so the policy updated. We return to Chrome. And as you see, I had it set for, where was it? So you see it came up that it noticed the usage of, come on. Of course, my VM's a little slow, but it noticed that I went to Tor project and it picked up on it, right? Access to this website's not allowed. It has been blocked. See, and there we go. Block this access. So I can no longer access torproject.org, which means that I can no longer download the Tor browser. That's a great start. But what about the users who already have installed the Tor browser? Or what about people who try to install the Tor browser from a flash drive, right? Those will still work. And as we see, when we open the Tor browser again, it opens freely and it can still establish a connection to the Tor network after a moment. Get that out. And there you go. So we still can do anonymized browsing through the Tor browser. So this is not fully covering our need, but a great start. The other way to control this, and I think this is the one that, really will help us, is to use application control, right? And through application control, we can actually pick out different applications. We can control the way they either connect to the internet or not connect, or we can actually terminate them on start, which is great. Um, so how do we do all that, right? Back here at the Infinity portal, we visit the access and compliance section and application control tab, and we go ahead and edit our application control policy. Now you'll see there are no applications here out of the box. So what do we have to do? You download an app scan tool, right? It's a very small download. I think it's like 2 MB. Um, you run the tool on the machine you want to run it on and the one you want to gather the exe files from, and then you upload the XML it spits out, right? So I have actually already downloaded the app scan tool and moved it over to this Windows machine. So I'll show you quickly. I'm actually on my way there going to grab my command. You saw it had the syntax. It had the syntax in that pop up, but I have my command all prepped and ready to go. So I want to grab it right now. Okay. So we go back over to our Windows machine. We run command. You can also do this through a script, and you could actually use the push operation of the Harmony endpoint to run this remotely. Get rid of that. This, it copied a little funny. Let me run it. And there we go. It's literally searching. So I set that command to search through just the things on the desktop. You can run it for the whole C drive. I encourage you to do so, but it will take a little while for it to do all that scanning. So for our purposes here today, we're just going to do the desktop. Now, it found all these different exe files. It created this file here, scan.xml. Literally, I copy this off. I'll paste it, I guess, onto my desktop real quick. Yes, copy and replace. And then when we go back to the Infinity portal, we upload that XML file right from my desktop, scan.xml. You see it's uploading applications. And after a few moments, it should generate this list here there it is right behind there. It generates the list of applications it found. So now we will identify, because there's a couple different things in here, right? And I guess it should be mentioned. I didn't mention it before, but it should be mentioned that the Tor browser is actually a version of the Firefox browser from Mozilla. So you actually see it's got associated calls into the Mozilla, right? Um, but the thing I'm going to do, just and there's a couple ways to use this now, but the way I'm going to do it is tor.exe. You see the action here is to allow by default, but I am going to block, and that will block its network access, right, to the tor.exe application. Now, as always, oop, tricky one here. You got to scroll down and hit OK. And then, as always, you have to save and install, or else the new changes won't take effect. This will take a second, so I don't know if we have any new questions. If not, that's fine.
Oh, oh, here we go. I was going to ask about, can you manually add apps there? Or do you have to scan?
You can. That's a great question. So I don't want to go back because I want to keep moving
That's
forward. We could do it
cool.
at the end,
Yeah.
but yes, you can. So there's a second tab in there that you add custom applications, and you can add as much or as little information you want to about them, and then you upload your own hash of them. The application control works by hashes, by the way. I don't know if everybody was familiar with that, but yeah, so you can upload your own hash and create your own signatures manually. Absolutely. Okay, so version number 9. So we move back over to our Windows machine, and we're going to update the application control because it's still on an old, what is it on, version 8. Let's see if it went to 9. Not yet. Yeah, this always takes like an extra 30 seconds or so, but it will get there. Let's see something real quick. Oh, it is there. Okay, so it is version 9. The GUI wasn't quite updating yet. So just to check it one last time, version 9. Very good. So now when we open the Tor browser, it opens up just like it had. But when we go to connect to the Tor network, it fails because Harmony Endpoint has blocked its network connection from this application. Now, the neat thing that I saw was that Tor again is built to get around systems like this, right? So it says right here, it gives you the pop-up. Tor exited on the startup. This might be due to an error, might be a bug, or it might be something else. So you see right here, it says Tor could not connect to Tor. If it is blocked in your location, trying a bridge may help. So it even gives you steps to take to try to get around a protection like this, right? And if we go ahead and come on, United States, if we go and try a bridge as it suggests, it still cannot connect to Tor. So we have crippled this application, right? If you think of like a kill chain, like a cyber kill chain, we have crippled this application to where it cannot access the Tor network. And therefore, we can't get to all these deep web sites, right? And you see right here, potentially block connection. So that's how we're recommending that. Now, one thing that I think is cool and people want to see as an admin, when you come back in here to the console, I'm going to actually try to do this in the last uh, day. I guess it doesn't matter. Refresh this. Hmm, no logs yet, I guess. But when you come back in here to the logs, you'll see it logged that it prevented this action, right? And so what you'll actually get is these blocked logs, right, through application control. And it shows, a lot of information about what just happened, right? That here's the user, right? The machine that they were on, right? And the application was blocked. And if we scroll down just a little bit more, we can see that the application was tor.exe. So we can also get a good idea of who's using it and maybe address this more personally if need be. So that was pretty much what I wanted to demonstrate for you guys this morning. I hope it was helpful or at least kind of an interesting session. Um, are there any further questions?
Yes, absolutely. Got the same question several different ways here, so I'll try and parse them out for you. What if the executable is in a different directory or a different version?
Okay, so that's a lot. So this is based on hash, and if the user changes the name of the file or changes the directory of the file, it will still pick it up, right? They could rename tor.exe to, you know, cupcakes.exe. It will still work. It will still block it, I should say. The Harmony endpoint will see it and will block it. Now, when new versions of Tor come out, you will have to rerun the scan, right? And or you can add the hash manually, as came up in the questions before. Um, so it does create like an ongoing process a little bit, but keep in mind that we've also blocked torproject.org. So that's going to prevent users from going there and downloading the new versions. And we also can do a few other techniques that we just don't have time for today. Like, for example, we could control uh, flash media devices in a way that makes it so we can't load applications from it, right? And there's a few other things we could work in there. And the other thing that I was playing around with, and I just couldn't complete it for this session, so this question caught me a little bit. We were playing with the ports and the firewall blade, and it appears, or at least we tested it, and some of the testing shows that if you look at users using the port 9001, which is the initial port that the Tor browser reaches out to the Tor network with, if you pick up on and log the use of port 9001, you can actually see the uh, users reaching out and trying to do the Tor network. Now, there are a few other applications that use 9001, so you do have to read in the log which application is being used, but still, that's a way to spot new violators.
Got
Great
it.
questions, though.
Good. Uh, Question here about does this mean that you have to add the historical hashes of all the versions of Tor as well?
So based on what we've done here, you would have to use to add older versions of the hash. Again, you could block that 9001 port and see who's using what and begin to narrow that down because obviously there's many versions of this browser that have been out for many years. But yeah, you can start to narrow that down with that 9001 port and searching through the logs. That's a very good question, though.
Here's a good thought. Don't know if this crossed your mind. Would blocking the .onion domain be effective?
Just anything star.onion, I don't know. I never tried it. That's a very good question.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I don't see part of the problem is that checkpoints URL filtering works by the browser plugin. You can see it right here in my browser, and it pops into a
We
variety.
don't see your browser. We have the
Oh,
Harmony screen.
oh, okay, okay, interesting. Uh, so you see the Harmony.
Yep.
client in my,
Yeah. Now we
okay,
got your
okay,
client. Yeah.
okay, gotcha. So you can see my my browser now inside
Yes.
the, yeah. So you see this browser, Chrome, has the plugin for the Checkpoint Harmony endpoint. Um, that comes as part of the endpoint product. It where it is made to go right into it. You don't have to manually install that plugin or anything. Um, that's the one that does the URL filtering. So that will work in the browsers listed, right? That it could block, a variety of sites and probably can block that .onion the more I think about it. But the Tor browser, we don't have a plugin for it because it's kind of uh, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? A sensitive or touchy browser.
Right. But you're talking about, I mean, the focus of this was using Harmony
Mhm.
Endpoint, but
Right.
obviously you can use the URL filtering on your gateway, uh,
Hmm.
whether you're using Tor or not, right?
Hmm. Right. You could try that as well.
Yeah,
You probably would need SSL inspection installed on the gateway, I'm sure.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Um, I think, like I said, a lot of those questions were similar.
Hmm.
If I didn't answer you directly, please repost your question, but I think I covered the ones in here about everyone was file name, directory, hash questions, all good
Hmm.
questions.
Yeah, all good questions, and it is a thing. It is definitely something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you are starting down this road or configuring it, and you run into other ideas, please reach out, let us know. This is kind of a newer thing, but there's many ways to slice this problem.
Mhm.
But
Many ways to peel an onion.
every way to peel it on you. Thank you. I think that covers it for the questions. So thank you, Joe. Great information. Let me see here. We'll send that follow-up email with the reference content. And somebody asked if this is recorded. Yes, the follow-up email will include the link to the YouTube channel that has all the recordings from these tips and tricks webinars. So you'll see that soon. Our next webinar will be in 2 weeks. Don't have a topic yet, but that invitation should go out next week. And I think that covers it. So thank you, everybody, for joining. And we'll see you next time. Joe, thanks again and enjoy your day.
Thank you for having me, and have a great day, everyone.
Bye, all.